Happy birthday, William Shakespeare. Today is the day. Today is William Shakespeare's, some people think, birthday, although that's not for sure, actually. But what we do know is today is William Shakespeare's death day. So we can say happy death day. Today, Miguel de Cervantes, the author of Don Quixote, also died. In fact, they died on the same day of the same year, the 23rd of April, 1616. And because you're considered such great authors, this is considered the day of literature. And Dean and I, we thought that we'd briefly explain to you why Shakespeare is such a great author, why he's so timeless, why he's so relevant, and simply why he's such an enjoyable read. And Dean, we've been reading Shakespeare the whole month, rereading and reading some, in my case, reading some plays I haven't read before. How was your experience for the whole month of
It
Shakespeare?
was really good. I mean, we're in the fortunate position that we're picking the ones we want to start with, so we're doing our
Yeah,
favorites first. But
yeah,
we've done
sure.
five, and we're working on a sixth, and it's very very enjoyable. I'll tell you one thing. I read these first a couple of years ago, and
Hmm.
I found at the time, the language is quite tricky and things like that. But on the second read through, I'm finding it a lot more straightforward, a lot easier to grasp.
Yeah, well, look, I've got to say the same thing I want to say. I think the first play I ever read fully was the Scottish play.
Hmm.
So Macbeth. Oh, should I be saying that word? And I really was struggling through it, and I enjoyed it at the end a bit, but I felt like that was very difficult. But then a few years later, I did read maybe five or six plays all in one go, and I just automatically it was a lot easier for me. And I think it was A Midsummer Night's Dream. It's the second one I read fully and just really enjoyed it. And recently, again, now then back to it, now I find it quite easy. I have to say, I'm not having difficulties. Um, Now I do love languages, and it helps when you kind of love languages and understand language. If you understand Latin, German, it's old English. But if you get the annotated, I would recommend you start with an annotated version. And he would probably have to learn a tiny bit of the grammar, understand that thy means your, or that thou is the colloquial version of you.
Hmm.
It comes from German, by the way. So if you know German,
Maybe
thou
I'm
comes
just
from
assuming
du.
that everyone knows that, but like I don't know, these millennials don't even know what books are, so I guess they don't know what thy
So,
means. Yeah.
so guys, yeah, well, look, this is time for you to refresh thy old English, and yeah, basically, if you go beyond the language, it's not too difficult. You will really enjoy these stories because they're timeless. They're really timeless. I feel like this could have been written when I read Macbeth, even though I found it difficult, I felt that play could have been written yesterday. That's how modern. In fact, that's it also
Hmm.
was really, really violent and vicious. And I just thought, all right, this could have just been written last year because it feels also like it could have been controversial. I feel like had Macbeth not been written and were written last year or this year, it would be a controversial play right now. It's
We
just
have noticed that actually, and in a few of the ones we've mentioned while we've been
hmm,
discussing them, that actually this could have been done as a modern play. It's the
yeah,
themes are real and they're modern and they're still alive. I mean, we just
very much
wrapped up
so.
our recording of Romeo and Juliet, and those themes of love are still true and still alive. That teen love. But in
Yeah,
most of these plays, we've noticed that Shakespeare. I think that's the genius of Shakespeare is that
no,
he's writing
totally.
something that can sustain for hundreds of years and you can read it, and once you get past the language, basically it's a modern play.
Exactly. Yeah, it's great. And of course, the thing is, Shakespeare wasn't in. You can't say Shakespeare was an intellectual. He wasn't one of the university playwrights that were kind of in at the time, like Christopher Marlowe, for example, or Robert Greene.
Hmm.
Those were kind of like more intellectual, whatever that means, in the sense of they went to universities. They were possibly pretentious. They were more pretentious in their kind of like behavior. William Shakespeare had just kind of a kind of normal upbringing, Latin education. The thing is, when you think he's being very intelligent and kind of like elitist, he's not really being elitist for the time. So I mean, those Greek references, I admit they're hard, even for me. I don't know if I get them. I have to look them up. But at the time, this was kind of like it's kind of your normal education. So you did need some education, but basically he's not trying to be too difficult. He's trying to be quite accessible. We're just saying that, Dean, right? With Romeo and Juliet, they have a prologue explaining the whole play. Sometimes it's oversimplified for modern audiences, even made a bit easier, especially Romeo and Juliet. And basically, all those Henry the Fifths and Sixth, I have no idea who they were, to be honest. But at the time, people really got that, and they
At
were
the time,
often,
people knew them. Yeah.
and they were often metaphors for contemporary uh, members of the monarchy family. So I mean, so it's all very kind of it's very relevant at the time, and you might have to look up the references, Greek references, historic references, and the language. But apart from that, there is a very universal claim and universal themes in Shakespeare. Yeah, I mean, and I have to
I
say,
think that's one of the reasons we haven't been doing the Henrys really yet, is because, I mean, first of all, they're very long, but also
yeah,
they're a little bit less relatable to us now than the other plays are. The romances, the
and
tragedies, the comedies, they're a lot more relatable still.
the history plays of Shakespeare were early plays, so yeah, so possibly, well, they just aren't as popular nowadays anyway, are they? And that has more to do with a very specific Romeo and Juliet, their archetypes. They exist in basically every third Hollywood film that comes out is
Yeah.
Romeo and Juliet. It is, and every fifth film that comes out is Hamlet, about a man who's lost his father, and but actually one of his family members killed him, and he's going to seek revenge, but he's hesitating. It's all about hesitation, Hamlet.
Now
And basically,
hold
yeah,
on, PJ. If every third is Romeo and Juliet and every fifth is Hamlet, does that mean that every 15th is a crossover special?
it's a crossover special, exactly. Yeah, and look, guys, every Shakespeare play has been interpreted so often in many different ways. It's brilliant. And like we were just talking also about the genius, the plot devices used, and you know a comedy of errors, which is all about just like how can this happen, but it somehow did, and it's still more or less realistic up to a point. Some plays, as you like it, they really lose the realism. But in general, like it's all kind of you can imagine this really happening. That's what I really like about Shakespeare. It's not he doesn't use too many fantastic elements, but even if he does use them, it's still kind of like, yeah, I can imagine this happening. This is like a human being would react, at least a human being who's maybe in an extreme situation, like a king, like a person who really wants to be king, like Richard III, but is actually hunchback and not so good looking. Yeah, you can imagine these kind of people existing and doing it. Yeah, actually, one of my favorite plays is Richard III, Dean, but we haven't done that yet. So I'm looking forward to doing it. I find it a very deep kind of play, so I kind of wanted more time and talk about this later.
My favorite is the unreleased Henry the Sixth Part 5047, because I really want to know just about what he had for dinner that day. I just gotta get really, really in depth with Henry the Sixth.
So there you go, guys. There's a lot of Henrys. Looking forward to looking forward to meeting you. And I think that wraps it up about Shakespeare, guys. Do you want to say, Dean, we've got a little treat for?
So the treat is that we've pre-recorded 5 and we're working already on a 6th, and there will be more. So as part of we've mentioned before, we wanted to do the Bufanda Boys, which is going to be our premium, bonus content that you can get and you can pay for. And the first sub show within the Bufanda Boys is going to be the Playboys, and we put on our pipes and our slippers and our maroon smoking jackets and got some pretty girls and hung around the Playboys mansion, and we've got some plays for you. We've done, as I say, we've got 5 already done, and we're going to show you the first 2 right now, and they're going to be released just for this weekend for free as a
Shakespeare's birthday,
as a little teaser and to celebrate Shakespeare's birthday. And then if you like it, from the 1st of May, everything will be launched online on our Patreon. You'll immediately have 5 episodes that you can get. And of course, we'll be working then on more. I think we'll aim to have, at least 1 extra show per month on there. So it's going to be something that you can subscribe to, and you will get content going forward. Plus, there's other treats. There's higher tiers that you can get, t-shirts and all sorts. So definitely look out. It's going to be patreon.com/booksboys, and that's going to go live from the 1st of May.
So